pedagogy can be very interesting. Um, the Central Intelligence Agency recently stated in media that it doesn't do domestic operations. But at if you look at the presence of Bush's mind, the things that have happened over the course of the last 50 years, you of course do see that that's not telling the full story. I believe it was Deke Deloach who said that after King was out of the way, white power should look for promoting a black person who was more in line with their interests. This sounds like a Bush psychology program for ending racism, so to speak. But I was running the litter of Bush's ship and have been mistreated very singularly, and I believe this has something to do with Bush. I understand that we live in a culture that is profoundly disaffected in some degrees. Um, but it would be better if groups that were representing the disaffected, if they can't make things better, would at least lay off helping the people who are making it impossible, for example, for children to safely go to schools. One of the arguments that was made by Reagan's so-called business ethic in the 80s about liberal society was that all we were doing was spoon-feeding disappointments to children. And of course, his allies in prog rock were saying that every day too, that it was all, you know, brainwashing of children and that they don't need any education. But what we find in a society that actually seems to be functioning this way, attacking the best things it has to offer, is a lampoon of high seriousness that I call the laugh-in oligarchy. And I'd like to go into some of the details regarding what I know about the esoteric circle of the oligarchy and how it's played out with the derisive mentality of Bush in our affairs. And of course, when I say Bush, I also mean Clinton and Obama. Think back to Operation Determined Force, which had something to do with Clinton's policies in the Middle East. It happened whether we're Daytona, I guess it was during the Bosnia War. There were Daytona discussions about peace. So determined force has about, if you say Daytona, Daytona force. And Bush called one of his operations Operation Just Cause. And if you change the pronunciation a little, you get Operation Just Cause I want to. Biden called Obama the leader of the pecking order. And you get a name like Putin for the Russian leader at a time when Two Virgins Pussy Bowl was being fought out at the instigation of Yoko Ono, who had a big, big victim card called John Lennon. She played that big victim card as Trump in a war game that owes thanks to the Green Party, thanks to Heat for what happened at Uvalde School. So prophecy plays a big role in this stuff. I mean, they predicted how Jimmy would behave, the other Jimmy C. Jimmy will Mikey, eat anything and then cry for Greta in the end, okay? So you have this oligarchy with determined force, just cause, coming out with Osama bin Laden. Sin radio, because Sama means super polite, and the script used to say the goody goodies are twice as bad. And they duked out the two virgins pussy ball for Midori Goto. So oof, biff, oof. Osama bin Laden, Obama, Sin radio. And they were playing this idea that epilepsy proves rape, They impacted a neurotrauma that they synchronized to a yada, 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 ripcord to extrude what they had inputted, the toxin of their therapy. There were a lot of intonations when it came to Peter Gabriel's Sick Mind, like dun 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 picnic, dun 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 picnic picnic, dun. That's the sort of thing that they overdub, the sort of lewd, intonations of suggestion, the ESP signals that they send, the dynamics of douchebaggery. And did you put your finger on that, little boy? They say when they hear, "Oh, what a goose I am, Obama. Oh, what a goose I am, Obama." For the Uwa Jamea theme of what a goose Jama is. Did you put your finger on that? And they have this idea that running a weapon of revenge or neuroplasm through the psyche of an innocent person, so you can torture them again, so that you can recycle torture. Isn't that neat? In the name of the black man, get come in for sloppy seconds, and on the little white, being like a sustainable Fast and Furious that's already been written. Now, I say these things because Brecker had a lot of soundtracks from Flexus. I don't even know what's going on. My father didn't even know I'd been kidnapped and tortured. It's a suggestion. So they have this, you know, syncopation of how they want to go about inflicting damages. Like there's a scene in Dune where the doctor gets killed. He was it was promised that he could join his wife, and they stab him and say, "So join her." And then the mission, the last joke is when they dangle the cord that he cuts at the last minute, and so they can't save the good guys. This is the sort of surreptitious sneakiness that goes on in the way that they play out um, their lampoon of the promise of regal um, moral largesse. Because, these guys have a snickering going on behind the scenes. They're always sniveling about supreme jugglers who hold another pack and yellow jesters who do not play but gently pull strings and madmen to whom it matters least laughing in the aisles. It's the ennui of lopers masquerading under the auspices of hippiedom. And they claim that neoclassical ideas of education and proper child rearing are spoon feeding out disappointments. It's important to understand that that's not true. Um, Children do want to go to school and enjoy growing up and learning. And it's important that we understand that no matter how powerful and destructive he can be, Donald Trump will never be the world's next Aristotle. He's not really all that important of a person on the level that matters. But these people have it in for um, extolling their own godhead. They may not be neoclassical thinkers, but they certainly think of themselves as gods. Think back to the Anna Lewandale by Tolkien. Melchior plays a couple off notes, and they say, "Oh, he has fallen from the order," and God tries to reorganize things to include Melchior's off notes. No, he off notes again. Finally, God stops everything, says silence, and expels. This is the fall of deafness. Peter, what's his name, said in my presence, something in music is more important than life itself. In other words, any old backwards rock star is more important than America's public schools. I mean, get out of here, you weirdo. So you have this situation of, you know, colorless creepiness masquerading as God, and they see themselves as looking for vows um, of seriousness, of high seriousness, when they're just parading sniveling stupidities that are highly destructive, And they say it's about the quality of life, but it's not really about the quality of life. They talk about the primacy of sound. It's not really about the primacy of sound. A lot of their stuff is loudishly commonplace, and they think they're so important, I think they're just invested in fossil fuels, to be perfectly honest. But when you get about something important, music is more important than life itself. And then they deny being the fiddlers greeting the so-called merchandise at Dachau. I mean, it really is obnoxiousness of a pretty low order. So, you get Nabokov talking about a great conspiracy of people hiding the truth from him, and Milan Kundera's the jest. And you eventually get the picture of what the laughing oligarchy is behind the scenes, which is, they go out and say, don't laugh, take us serious, but behind the scenes, they're laughing hard, as they say in Pittsburgh. They're laughing hard. That's Reagan's good business ethic for you. So, I mean, I think the whole idea of Elvis being fast and furious and having a higher quality of life, Jordan Peterson talks about his terror of being a has-been, an imitation of himself. In other words, a person who dutifully doles out disappointment. It's really not that bad having another day to look forward to. I just want, if you're one of those really stupid people who thinks the light of the life can be found in Roger Waters' slick mystique as a destructive sadist, and you're, you know, unclear in your head what happened in Uvalde. I think you should slow down and get back into the idea that having a future is maybe slow going, but yeah, Johnny Rotten's no future is hardly Aristotle on Earth, the way that Roger Waters makes it out to be, the way Peter Gabriel makes it out to be. So what I'm saying is that when you look at the oligarch Lapin who came up with two verbs, and so some have been laid, some have been laid, scream, Jimmy, scream. Yeah, the Kandora joke of Milan. Can he endure a joke? The oligarch, the royal snivellers of inner sanctuary, um, leapfrog oligarch, computer mayhem jest, and the jugglers with another pack. I think sustainable public education still remains the way to go. And what they're saying is simply hogswash. It's wrong. It's not a bad life to live to make sure that everybody's included and looked after. It's not a bad life. Um, they're mistaken. So my message to the people who are disaffected is, if you can't do good works, at least try not to encourage people who live to do terrible things to our society the way the Beatles did. It's really not cool.